Hey Astro Lover, welcome back to my channel. I am so excited to be with you here in 2026. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to experiment with business astrology forecasts every month, and we're going to see if I like it. So that's my goal for 2026, to offer you business astrology forecasts monthly, interspersed with some other content. Before we get into February 2026 forecasts, I want to make a few announcements. The first is that I've decided to separate my YouTube channel from my podcast. So if you want weekly content from me in your ears, you're going to want to listen to the podcast. I'm going to link it in the description below. So you can listen to it on Apple, you can listen to it on Spotify, wherever you like to get your podcasts. And then I'll be here on YouTube twice a month. I also have some really exciting news about my work and my services. If you enjoyed the Planet Powered Business series that I kicked off my channel with here on YouTube, you are going to love my new 2-month incubator for intuitive entrepreneurs called the Cosmic Business Plan. It is open now, so if you want to build a business based on your astrological edge and book out a service based on your chart, you're going to want to join me in the Cosmic Business Plan, and you can find all of the information for that below or at astrologywithclaire.com. And my final announcement is that in February, I am hosting an Instagram class for people who hate Instagram. It's called the 9-Grid Orbit. It's happening from February 9th through 13th. And I'm basically going to teach you how to create a static 9-grid using the planets, so using astrology on Instagram. So if you want to use your Instagram sporadically, if you just want to show up on stories, but you want to have a presence there, we're going to basically create a mini website or a mini business card using 9 static posts on your grid. You can sign up and join me at astrologywithclaire.com/Instagram. Okay, let's get into the astrology of February 2026. The biggest news this month is Saturn and Neptune making a conjunction. So first of all, Saturn has been in Pisces for the last 2.5 to 3 years. It's going to finally move all the way into Aries this month. And when it does that, it's going to make a conjunction with Neptune, which has freshly moved into Aries as well at the end of January. So that's going to be a big theme, and I'll unpack it in a bit. The other big theme is that eclipse season is happening. So when eclipse season begins, that means that we're going to start expecting the unexpected. Eclipses are simply interruptions in the regular lunar cycle, and so that can mean interruptions in our regular schedule. Mercury will also station retrograde at the very end of the month, so this will be your first opportunity of 2026 to slow down and review the year so far. Your strongest planet friend or ally, business ally this month is Venus in Pisces. This is going to begin on February 10th, and it's going to be especially potent and strong on 2 particular dates. That's February 17th when it makes a conjunction with the North Node, and February 22nd when it trines Jupiter. When I say strongest planet business ally, what I mean is I want you to prioritize Venus activities in your business this month because they are going to be the ones that are most cosmically supported. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what that means in a minute. But I also mean when I say strong planet ally, this is a planet that you can ask for business advice and direction. And how do we do that? Well, in my realm, we do that through planet channeling, which is a journaling technique that I have created and popularized. So if you want to learn how to channel Venus this month, head to astrologywithclaire.com/clarity for a free webinar. So when Venus is really strong for the month, in business, that means I want you to prioritize anything Venus related. I like to think of Venus as a creative relations consultant. If it had a hat in your business, if it had a title, it would be the creative relations consultant. So what does that mean? It's really in charge of creativity and design as well as connections and relationships. So anything that Venus rules this month, starting February 10th, will be highlighted in a positive way in your business. So a couple things that you can do with this is first design. So sprucing up your website, getting new brand photos taken, and making sure your business feels as good as it looks. Another thing that will be positively highlighted this month are collaborations. That's something that Venus is really good at, is making connections. So I encourage you, while Venus is in Pisces, to reach out to new people and inquire about opportunities to work together instead of apart. Venus is also the planet that really nurtures our client relationships. So I encourage you to also really give a lot to your clientele this month, really nurture them, really nourish them, and maybe surprise and delight them with something a little extra. Another opportunity you have this month is to begin to dismantle an offer or a piece of an offer or a piece of your business, maybe even your whole business if that's where you're at. There's this essence this month of taking something apart in order to start fresh. And this has to do with the Saturn-Neptune conjunction. This would be a really good month to audit your business, to see where the cracks are, what's not working, and start exploring a new vision, even if it seems a little pie in the sky or outlandish right now. Okay, so this is how I've broken down the forecast. I've broken it down by weeks, so I'm going to take you through each week of February and share the highlights with you. I'm not going to share all of the bits and pieces. That's too much and also sometimes not helpful. It can be overwhelming. So I have picked out what I think is going to be the most important. We're going to start with the first week in February, which is February 1st through 8th. We're starting the month strong with a full moon in Leo on February 1st. It's at the 13th degree of Leo. So typically when we have a full moon in Leo, we are thinking of a great time for putting yourself out there. It's good for getting in front of a crowd. It's good for expressing yourself, being a little dramatic, and also creating. You know, Leo is a very generative, creative sign that loves to express. Now, this Leo full moon isn't making any exact aspects with other planets, but if you open the chart and you look at it visually, what's happening is right before the full moon, there's an opposition to Mars, and then after the full moon, there's an opposition to Venus. So in English, this means that the full moon time might start out a little Marsy, a little stressful, and then transition into letting your hair down and having some fun. The other big news this week is Uranus stationing direct on February 3rd, and this is happening at the 27th degree of Taurus. And what's going to happen later this week is a lot of Uranus activity. So once Uranus stations direct, Mercury will square it, and then Venus will come around and square it. So Uranus is kind of the star of the show this week. It's creating a lot of hubbub, and when Uranus creates hubbub, that means upheaval and surprises and change. But don't think of it as a bad thing. It can be really exciting and refreshing when Uranus makes moves. Speaking of, I tend to find that when Uranus stations direct, so when its retrograde ends, that it tends to coincide with a breakthrough around something I've felt stuck on. But that also might be because I have Uranus exactly conjunct my ascendant, so I'm very in tune with Uranus. However, if you've been feeling like you're coming up against a wall around an idea or a project, when Uranus stations direct, you may have an aha moment, so look out for that. Now, once Uranus stations direct and starts moving forward again through Taurus, this is its final push through Taurus. It's moving through the final few degrees of this sign, and it's heading for Gemini. So it's finishing up its churning and disruption and innovation in the Taurus house in your birth chart. The next thing happening this week that is of note is Mercury is changing signs. So it is moving out of Aquarius and into Pisces, and this is happening on February 6th. This is a more inward, shy, a little slower, more introverted version of Mercury. Pisces is a weaker place for Mercury to be, so it's a great place for things like imagination and dreaming and compassionate action and artistic endeavors, but it is not super great for planning or clarity or efficient communication. So just be aware of that when Mercury does move into Pisces, there could be a little bit of confusion. It's kind of like an extra Mercury retrograde. All right, let's move on to the second week of February. We're looking at the dates of February 9 through 15. The first thing I want to mention is Venus is changing signs. So it is moving out of Aquarius and it's moving into Pisces. This is happening on February 10th. Remember at the beginning of the forecast, I mentioned that Venus is your strongest planetary ally this month? Well, this is when it starts. Why? Because Venus is what's called exalted in the sign of Pisces. This is one of the best, if not the best place for Venus to be. So everything related to Venus in your business, including design, connection, relationship, collaboration, is going to have a heyday in a positive way while Venus is in Pisces. Venus will be in Pisces until March 6th. The next thing that's going to happen this week is Mercury in Pisces will make a conjunction to the North Node. This is happening on February 11th. So the North Node, in my opinion, is kind of like a megaphone or a magnifying glass. Anything that touches the North Node gets exaggerated and becomes a little extra. So we've already got a bit of a problematic Mercury in Pisces. And when it conjuncts the North Node on the 11th, it's just going to be exaggerated a little bit. It's going to get louder. Now, Mercury in Pisces conjunct the North Node can coincide with a lot of ideas, which can be really fun and positive. So I encourage you to carry a notebook around or have the Notes app ready on your phone. But I've also seen Mercury in Pisces conjunct the North Node equally create states of overwhelm and sometimes anxiety. All in all, it's probably going to be a really busy day of communicating. I suggest, if you can, just for the sake of lack of clarity, that you limit your time on the phone, meetings and email if you can, and maybe limit your social media posting, etc., because it's just more likely to get misconstrued or lost in the fray. Next up is our big news starting. We have Saturn moving into the sign of Aries on February 13th. It's going to be in Aries through roughly the spring of 2028, so this is something to pay attention to. It's a big shift. Now, Aries is a little bit of a challenging sign for Saturn to find itself. In traditional astrology, Aries is the sign of Saturn's fall. So literally think about Saturn walking down the street and then it takes a tumble and it drops its coffee and stains its white shirt. That's super annoying, right? So if Saturn is the planet of foundations, of structure, of solidity, and it moves into a sign where it has the potential to fall down and hurt itself or break something, etc., what does that mean in business or in life? Well, cracks in our foundations can begin to show. We will begin to see very quickly what is no longer sustainable, what is no longer strong and holding us tightly and well. Anything that doesn't have a longevity, foundation focus is going to start crumbling, okay? So Saturn things like reality, what we thought was solid, structure, discipline, routine, those types of Saturn things begin to shake or begin to fall apart. Another thing that happens when Saturn moves into Aries is there's this urgency to build something really quickly, to create something out of thin air, to move forward and to progress at a really rapid, accelerated pace. And so just be aware that if you start to feel that sense of Aries urgency, you don't have to do anything. You can if you want to, but it might just be the planetary shift. So there's a temptation almost to build something fast instead of to build something better. So just be cautious about the decisions you're making as Saturn moves into Aries. See if you can keep that long-term view in mind, even as Saturn is pushing you to move fast. Okay, let's move on to week 3, February 16th through 22nd. Eclipse season starts this week, so we have an Aquarius new moon solar eclipse on February 17th at the 28th degree of Aquarius. This is the first preview of our new set of eclipses that will be spanning the Aquarius-Leo axis. Now, eclipse season is a time of instability and interruption. Remember, eclipses are regular, irregularities of the lunar cycle. They happen in pairs every 6 months. They are predictable. They are not erratic. However, they are a break in the sequence. And so that can represent a break in our normal sequence as well. Now, this particular new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius will be especially erratic as it's square Uranus in Taurus. So this means that themes of authenticity and freedom will be really big. There's going to be a desire to break away from the way things have always been done, to break away from authority, maybe to innovate and to create a new way of being in your business. So this could coincide with a breakthrough, an aha moment, a desire to do something totally different that you've never tried before. So just be aware of those feelings popping up. Now, the signs of Aquarius and Leo are generally about the collective, Aquarius, versus the individual, Leo. And so you might notice during this eclipse, the days around the eclipse, that you might be straddling the needs of yourself versus the needs of a group. I also want you to start thinking about the houses that these signs span. So where is Leo and where is Aquarius? And this is where the eclipses will begin happening over the next year and a half. And so that's going to correlate with great shifts. So great beginnings or transitions and sometimes great endings are going to start happening in these houses. So have a look at your chart. Next up, we have Venus conjunct the North Node, and this is happening on February 17th at the 8th degree of Pisces. Now remember, Venus is our greatest business ally this month, so we're working with Venus themes, we're prioritizing Venus to-dos, and February 17th is a glorious moment within that time frame. Remember that the North Node is that exaggeration point, and so anything it touches, it highlights for better or for worse. In this case, the North Node is acting as an enhancement to Venus and Pisces. So if you have something Venusian that you're doing this month, maybe taking some photos, shooting some B-roll, revealing your new website design, anything like that, creating a logo behind the scenes, designing a PDF, February 17th is a great day for that kind of stuff. Next up, we have the Sun moving into the sign of Pisces. It's Pisces season, and this starts on February 18th. This is a really good change from the Sun. Moving out of Aquarius is actually rather positive for the Sun. The sign of Aquarius is the sign of the Sun's detriment, so it's moving into a more neutral sign of the zodiac for it. What this means is Sun things might begin to improve slightly. So you might notice a slight boost in vitality. You might notice a slight boost in confidence, maybe in clarity, and other general Sun functions. So as a collective, people are going to begin thinking about Pisces things and wanting to invest in Pisces stuff. So consider creating content around Pisces themes that relate to your service or offers. So compassion, meditation, sleep, rest, art, creativity, music. If those things are relevant to your work, I would lean into that from a content creation standpoint. Okay, next up is our biggest news of the month, and that is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction happening on the 20th of February at 0 degrees Aries. Now we have two planetary opposites coming together. We have the planet of structure and reality and boundary, and then we have the planet of erosion and illusion and things falling apart like big fog, big mist, big confusion. So when Saturn and Neptune come together, especially when Saturn is in the sign of its fall, so it's already weekend, there's a story here around things that we thought were dependable and solid starting to wash away. So Neptune's waves sort of lap at Saturn's shores and gently eat away at the rock and the wood until it's rotten and unable to be stood upon. So Neptune is going to start showing you where Saturn things like structures, supports, plans, infrastructure in your business, etc., systems are actually not working, and where you might need to plug some leaks, plug some holes. This is also a story about fantasy versus reality. Fantasy being Neptune, reality being Saturn. So when Neptune touches Saturn, there can be a real desire to also escape what's burdening you, escape reality. you might realize that something you relied on previously is no longer what it seems, that things aren't as secure or as solid as you hoped, and there's this general wisdom here about all things come to an end or all things wash away eventually. I know that sounds a little bit like a downer, like things falling apart, things washing away, things not being solid, but there's also another undertone or underbelly to the story, and what that is this is the very beginning of the zodiac. 0 degrees Aries is what? The beginning of it all. It is the fresh start. It is the initiation. And so it's not that this erosion is happening for no reason. It's happening so that you can start something fresh. So take hope in that. Next up, we have a beautiful Venus-Jupiter trine happening on February 22nd, and this is spanning 16 Cancer and 16 Pisces. This is a really beautiful moment. I encourage you to mark your calendar. It's great for not working, actually. It's great for connecting with loved ones. It's great for resting, eating good food, getting cozy. Again, it's not typically a great time for pushing yourself or actively working, but it can certainly support revenue and sales behind the scenes. So this is a moment in the month where I encourage you to take it easy and actually prioritize peeling back and just recuperating. Let's move on to the 4th week of February, which is spanning the dates of February 23rd through 28th. Mercury is stationing retrograde this week, and that is happening on February 26th, and it's stationing retrograde at the 22nd degree of Pisces. Now, Mercury has stopped in its tracks and it's treading water in a tricky sign where it's already a little confused and overwhelmed, and it's like tiring itself out doing the doggy paddle. Mark a couple days before and after the station, so a couple days, maybe like the 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, and 28th, and mark it on your calendar not to make any massive decisions. Like, don't pressure yourself to be clear on something. Don't pressure yourself to be at the top of your game. Don't pressure yourself to be like quick on your feet, because it's just not going to be accessible, at least not easily accessible. So I encourage you to slow down as Mercury also slows down. Now, of course, I'm not saying stop living, stop doing business, stop doing anything. Just triple check stuff. You're probably going to be a little mentally fatigued. You might have some decision fatigue. It's just very common to send emails with typos or send out social posts with like a misconstrued caption. So just triple check everything before you press post or press send, and you're going to be golden. Next up, we have the Sun conjunct the North Node. This is happening on February 27th at the 8th degree of Pisces. This is another North Node conjunction. So this month we've had several. You can see there's a theme here. So there's another planet being exaggerated and put under the magnifying glass or put in the spotlight. This time it's the Sun's turn, and so this is a great moment for anything solar. And in business, that usually means visibility and being seen. Although this is happening in tandem with the Mercury retrograde station, and you're going to have to consider that and maybe contend with that, it's still a really nice moment to reveal something to your audience. So if you have a new product you want to show, or you have a very important newsletter to send, this would be a really great moment to do that. Next up, we have a square between the planet Mars and the planet Uranus. This is happening on February 27th. This aspect is like a shot of espresso. Mars, the planet of action, and Uranus, the planet of breakthrough, are trying to figure out a problem, and they're like straddling the table and like sharing a computer and like pinging back and forth, trying to like get this thing accomplished, get it done come hell or high water. And that is kind of what it's going to feel like internally for you. They're problem solving, they're trying to figure out the best solution to something that's been irritating. And so this aspect can take a little elbow grease. It can take a little like critical thinking, but if you show up and make yourself available, a breakthrough in something is likely to happen. Next, we have a conjunction between Venus and Mercury retrograde. This is happening on February 28th at the 22nd degree of Pisces. So although Mercury is freshly retrograde, this is actually a nice day for communication. You know, this is one of your get out of retrograde day free cards. Did I say that right? Anyway, you know what I'm saying. So this is a good moment to send a note that has a lot of feeling, to share good news, to give someone a compliment. You know, Venus and Mercury together, it's like beautiful words or good messages or good news. If you need to communicate something with an element of grace or elegance or tact and diplomacy, this would be a great day to do that. Okay, that was a lot. Those are the astrological highlights for February 2026, but I want to do a little recap here. So grab a notebook or grab your calendar, and I want you to mark these dates. So we're going to do a little cosmic calendar magic right now. The best dates to reveal something to your audience, and when I say that, that could mean launching a product, going back to social media, announcing something important to your people. Best reveal dates, I would say, for February are the 1st, under the Leo full moon. It's very confident, it's very shiny, it's very visible. I would say next would be February 16th, when Mercury is making a trine to Jupiter retrograde. This is all about good news and sharing that good news wide and far. Another great day to reveal something would be the 17th. This is kind of straddling the Aquarius eclipse square Uranus, which is all about surprises and revealing something fun, and then Venus conjunct the North Node. So there's a story here about something unexpected but beautiful being revealed. So if you're hoping to create some buzz and connection simultaneously, the 17th is a great day. And finally, last pick for best reveal date is February 27th, and this is the Sun North Node conjunction. My only caution here, you know, this is a great day for visibility and being seen. Just beware that Mercury is also in station. So it's great for visibility, but not necessarily great for clarity or organization. Best times to push yourself a little bit, maybe do a little bit more on the to-do list, get a little bit more done, is February 1st through 5th. We're coming off of that fiery Leo full moon, and we're having a lot of Uranus activity, which can be really activating in an energizing type of way. Another great day to kind of push the limit is February 27th under the Mars-Uranus square. On the flip, best times to rest, February 22nd. Definitely prioritize your relationships, get cozy, get under a blanket, get some tea. This is when Venus and Jupiter are making a trine. And I would also say February 26th, when Mercury stations retrograde in Pisces, is a day to kind of limit your to-dos and give yourself a lot of buffer time. Best days for brainstorming and ideation, definitely February 3rd through 5th. This is when Uranus is stationing direct, which often comes with an aha moment. And then on February 12th, this is another great day for brainstorming and ideation. Mercury conjunct the North Node. You might have a lot of ideas, but not a lot of energy to do anything with them. That's okay, just capture them. And then finally, on February 20th, when Saturn and Neptune make their conjunction, look for something totally new to drop into your brain, okay? It might have a new dream, a new aspiration come forward. Thank you so much for watching, Astro Lover. I hope this forecast was helpful. Let me know in the comments if you plan to use these dates and how you plan to use them. If you liked this episode, please press like and don't forget to subscribe. And finally, if you'd like to apply astrology to your own business, come and work with me at astrologywithclaire.com.